Can you truly know someone? You can know a lot about them. Maybe you've even known them since forever, or have spent an enormous amount of time with them. But even then, you can't really know them truly, completely, right? And also, would you want to? Knowing everything someone lived, or said, or did, would that bring you closer or further? Those are some of the many questions game developer Uri asks in her latest gem of a game, Pedestal. If you like indie horror RPGs, you probably know Uri, or rather, you probably know her games. In 2013, she released her most well-known game, The Crooked Man. She then released The Sandman, The Boogeyman, and The Hangman, all part of the Strange Man series, a series that became better and better with each installment, but also less well-known with each release, somehow. I really don't know why. I think it's a great series that should be enjoyed in its entirety. But hey, we're not here for those games. There are plenty of other videos talking about them. No, we're here for Uri's most recent game, Pedestal. And even though it's been out for 3 years now, there's almost no video talking about it, and that simply won't do. Especially since we almost didn't get an English release for it. Yeah, if you didn't know, Uri first planned on not having an English version of the game. She believed that since it was so different from her other games, her English audience wouldn't like it. It also has a lot of text, which would be an enormous task for the English translator to take on. But more importantly, Uri believed the game was too embedded in Japanese cultures and customs to be understood by a foreign public. Having played the game, I think it's fine. Your average anime fans could get it without too much trouble, but all those concerns are legitimate. Somehow, despite all that, she decided to release it in English, and I am so glad she did. But then, Pedestal, what is it about exactly? Well, in 2013, in an all-girl academy in Japan, a tragedy took place. A month earlier, the prettiest, richest, most popular and well-liked girl in school was found dead on school premises. The cause of death was a fall from the school rooftop, but nothing else is known. Why was she there? Was she alone? Was it an accident? Was she pushed? Did she jump? No one knows. And that's what our local newspaper association president Aoi Ue wants to discover. Helped by her reluctant best friend Akari Abe, they will question the people close to the victim, investigate, and piece together the clues of this possible murder case. It's a simple enough premise that reminds me a bit of the game Misao, except without demons or gore. And the victim was popular and not a school reject. So I guess not like Misao at all then. The point is, it looks like your average high school slice of life anime, but Uri's talent has always been in character writing, and that's where the game truly shines. If Misao's whole appeal is seeing cruel one-dimensional bullies get brutally murdered, Pedestal's appeal comes from meeting an array of great characters, slowly discovering their thoughts in secret, and finally understanding the circumstances that led to such a tragedy. It's a mystery game, but instead of finding fingerprints and alibis, it's about the psychological side of things, like decoding a suspect's way of thinking and determining what made them say or do something based on their point of view. The game also has a strong theme of perception, how there's a stark difference between how a person is perceived and how they truly are. Looks can be deceiving, so don't be fooled either. I know from afar this game looks like your typical anime school life thing, but it was written by a horror author, so jump in and you'll see. It has more to offer than it lets on. And so, if you have the slightest inclination to play this game, please do so. It's free on VG Person's page, and it's a beautiful character study. But since it's a pretty long game, maybe you'd prefer just watching it. Then you're in luck. The YouTuber Silly Goose Gamer did a wonderful let's play of it. It's fully voice acted and covers the whole thing, including secret endings and all. Silly Goose Gamer was kind enough to provide all the footage of the game you'll see in this video, so please watch her channel. She does many great let's plays of cool games like Hollow Knight, Wuthering Waves, the Strange Man series I mentioned earlier, and Enroll! The link to her channel is on the screen and in the description. And that is all I can say about this game, without spoiling. Yes, we are entering our spoiler section. I want to analyze and talk about every little detail without restraint, so this is your last warning. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. In the autumn of 2013, someone irreplaceable to me died. Well, that's a way to start a game. We are then introduced to our two protagonists, Akari Abe, a redhead girl with a big I couldn't care less attitude, and Aoi Ue, an enthusiastic blue-haired girl with a lot of energy. It's only been a month since Shiori Natsume, the school princess, was found dead one morning. Many questions were left unanswered, so most people just assume it was suicide. But Aoi is not gonna leave it at that. As the leader of the newspaper association, and only member, she will find out what really happened to Natsume and reveal the truth to the world. And she asks Akari for help. Akari is against it. She thinks it's pointless to wonder about the dead, but she also wants to support her friend, who is bound to get in trouble with such an endeavor. So she reluctantly agrees to assist Aoi. It'll give her something to do too. Akari hates boredom, and so begins the investigation. First, Aoi wants to know more about the facts of the case, so the girls sneak into the principal's office to find the police report. It reveals that Shiori's death was estimated around 11 or 12 p.m. The cause of death is heavy trauma after falling off the roof. Shiori herself was dressed in casual clothes and had her backpack with her. With these new info, they decide to go investigate the rooftop. Oh, oops, sorry. Unfortunately, the door is locked, for obvious reasons. So they swipe the keys and make plans to come back at night to investigate. Dressed for the heist, they make their way to the roof, but they get attacked by the fierce bug. Yeah, it turns out Akari is scared of bugs. Aoi defeats the vicious beast and they get to the roof. Akari takes this opportunity to ask Aoi why she's so invested in Natsume. Aoi never even interacted with Natsume when she was alive, so why is she so interested in her death? Aoi admits it's true they weren't close, but Aoi did look up to Natsume in a way. And the idea that she, the perfect school idol, the prettiest, richest, most well-loved girl in school, killed herself, makes her worried. If the girl who had everything came to hate life, what does this mean for a little nobody like her? It doesn't sit right with her, so she wants to know what really happened, because, as it is, it doesn't make sense to her. To this, Akari responds, "So, by the way, I'm gonna die now," and proceeds to move towards the edge of the roof. Aoi stops her. Fortunately, she wasn't serious, but if she was, Aoi would just probably assume there were problems Akari had that she didn't speak of. There's always things you don't know about someone, even if you're close. You can't know how a person truly feels just from how they act. You're bound to assume most of it, and even if you did find an explanation for their action, that's still your version of the truth. Aoi can't actually find a real truth about Natsume, so what's the point of trying? It's too late now, and even then, maybe Aoi won't like the explanation. Maybe it'll make her idol fall from her pedestal. Akari asks if it's still worth it even so. Aoi doesn't answer. Instead, she asks if that means Akari is against the investigation. But Akari denounces that. She doesn't care about this, but Aoi does. And she cares about her. So she'll assist. And it'll save her boredom. This makes Aoi happy. But she sort of evaded the question. Oh well. Now that the girls are present at the crime scene, they find a few inconsistencies with the theory of suicide. First, Natsume died facing up, so she fell backward from the roof. That would be a pretty unconventional way to jump to your death. Also, she had her school bag with all her supplies with her. Would you really bring that with you to end your life? It doesn't quite add up. All this makes the hypothesis of suicide pretty unlikely. But then, why was she at school, on the rooftop, in the middle of the night? To answer that question, they need to ask around and get a better picture of what kind of person was Natsume. Who were her friends, and who were her enemies? And so, the next day, they start their questioning. While they question all their fellow students, a few things become obvious. For one, no one seemed that close with Natsume. No one comes out and says, "Oh yeah, we were besties." Everyone seems in the same boat as our protagonists. They knew Natsume, have nothing but good things to say about her, but weren't actually close. It seems the popular girl's life was lonelier than expected. They eventually learn about a few people closer to her, and draw up a list of well, I guess they're not suspects since we aren't sure it was a murder. Let's call them persons of interest in the Shiori Natsume case. So we have Sakura Natsume, Shiori's younger sister. Apparently they did not get along, and at the funeral she didn't even cry. Sumikazu Yasuoka, Natsume's boyfriend from an all-boys school. He's also from a rich family. Miyuki Endo, Natsume's senpai in the orchestra club. It said they were very close. Midori Hahakigi, a shy girl that has been seen around with Natsume a lot. And Kana Murakami, the other prettiest girl in school. She's a model for a magazine, and rumor says that when she learned of Natsume's death, she said, and I quote, "I'm glad she's dead." Aoi wants to investigate Sakura Natsume first, since she's family. They begin by gathering info about her. She's a first year, in the tennis club, and spoke harshly of her sister, going as far as calling her a puppet. She also doesn't seem to get along with her parents, and dislikes Natsume's boyfriend. Is she just in a rebellious phase, or is there something more? The girls go meet with Sakura, and right away Aoi drowns her in questions. Why didn't you get along with your sister? Did something happen? What about your parents and your sister's boyfriend? Why did you dislike them? And now that your sister is dead, are you sad about it? Aoi, my girl, what's wrong with you? You can't say that to a grieving 15-year-old in front of her whole club. Obviously, Sakura gets really mad, saying it's none of Aoi's business and she should just leave her alone. Fair enough. Aoi doesn't seem to understand what she did wrong, but Akari is quick to point out that she was thoughtless, rude, and was too busy playing detective to realize she was talking to a human being who just lost her sister a month ago. They end the questioning here for today. Aoi will have to rethink her approach if she wants results. The next day, Aoi says she made a ton of reflections and will be more careful now. This face says otherwise, but fine. Today, they want to meet with Natsume's boyfriend, Sumikazu Yasuoka. Turns out he wasn't just a boyfriend, but her fiancé. Since they were both in rich families, their parents arranged for them to marry as soon as they come of age. Okay. Rich people stuff, I guess? Our detective girls make their way to the boys' school and start harassing all the boys they see with questions about Yasuoka. Some say Yasuoka was against marrying Natsume, and others say he was optimistic about it. Seems he didn't like Natsume at first, but suddenly changed his mind about her. And on the topic of Natsume's death, Yasuoka declared, "It couldn't be helped." They finally meet with Yasuoka, and Aoi begins by half-heartedly mumble her condolences, then goes back to shooting question after question. What did you think about her death? Were you forced to marry her? And you didn't like her at first but then changed your mind. Why? And when talking about Natsume's death, you said it couldn't be helped. Did you know something about her death, perhaps? She learned nothing. Yasuoka refuses outright to answer. He calls Aoi despicable for going around digging for the secrets of a deceased girl by bothering those who are still mourning. She was his fiancée, and he intends to protect her secrets even in her death. If she chose death, then there's no more reason for her to suffer. He was about to leave when Aoi asks if he'd at least tell her what he thinks of Natsume. Yasuoka responds, "I respected her, and I did like her." And that's one thing I love in this game, the attention to detail in the text. At first glance, it looks like a normal enough answer, but it's not. He said that he respected her then, that he liked her. There's definitely something there, but not too blatant. Like, it's a believable dialogue, but it still gives you so much. I love your writing, Uri. Yasuoka demands they stop investigating Natsume and leave. Aoi is a bit angry for being insulted like that, but once again, Akari says she has it coming. Her forced condolences did not make the rest of her blunt questioning any better. Akari does admit she admires her honesty and boldness, but she has to learn to be a little more considerate of people's feelings, find out how they tick, and make use of it. The two then discuss a bit about Yasuoka. Clearly, he knows something. They just asked general questions, and right away he went all, "I'll protect her secret." That means Natsume had a secret, and Yasuoka knows of it. As they make their way back to school, Aoi decides to question the orchestra club leader, Miyuki Endo. They actually did a little digging on Miyuki earlier and discovered a few things. She's a third year and a violin player. She's said to be a stoic loner and a bit cold. She's aiming to be a professional violinist and is very serious about it. Natsume also played the violin, and the two were very close. Until recently, when something happened between them. Right after Miyuki handed the title of concert mistress to Natsume. When we talk to Miyuki, it's revealed that Akari knows her. Aoi asks why Miyuki handed over the title of concert mistress to Natsume, especially since things got awkward between them after that. Miyuki announces that things got awkward, and there really wasn't any deep reason for her to give her the title. She's a third year and has to concentrate on the finals. Natsume had all the qualities to succeed her, so she gave it to her. Nothing more, nothing less. Pretexting she has a violin lessons, Miyuki ends the questioning there and leaves. The girls didn't get that much answers from that questioning. Miyuki was guarded the whole time, and pretty much led the whole interrogation herself. That's a concert mistress for you. There's definitely more there, but for now, that'll be it. The next day, they investigate Midori, the shy girl, who turns out was the crying girl they saw by the door of the roof. Since she is so reserved, not much can be gathered about her, but they do learn about her parents. They are very strict. They complain to the school every time she has a bad grade, and don't even let her have a cell phone or computer. Midori herself is a second year. She's said to be gloomy and always on her own, until she started following Natsume around, but since Natsume's passing, she's been hanging out with a group of 3 girls. Aoi and Akari find Midori at the school entrance by the Shukabi, but before they can ask anything, she runs away. As good, respectful journalists, they chase her? Okay. Finally, they corner her, I guess, and ask her about Shiori Natsume. As one of her closest friends, she's bound to know something. But she answers, "Shiori never thought of me as a friend." Aoi wants to know what she means, but is interrupted by a trio of girls that bursts in and accuses Aoi of hurting Midori with all these questions and take Midori away. Midori seems to have bodyguards that won't let her talk, which is frustrating because she clearly knows something. After that, Aoi decides to go visit Natsume's house and meet her family. Akari is against it. It's bound to be a pain and Aoi is sure to mess it up with how insensitive she can be. So, Akari decides to take the lead on this one. Akari comes prepared, with flowers and saying they both came to pay their respects to Natsume and pray at her altar. She then boasts about how great Chiare was, and how much she wished she was closer with her while she lived. She then asks her mother how Shiori was at home. Her mother reminisces, saying how hard-working, diligent, and never defiant her daughter was. The mother can't believe her daughter committed suicide, since they provided so well for her, putting her in the best school, giving her all the best things. Why would she throw away such a bright future? Akari then asks if they can see Natsume's room and, with a bit of insistence, gets the mother to accept. Aoi is super impressed at Akari's acting skills. She even got them a peek into Natsume's room. But Aoi will have to inspect it quickly, or it'll become suspicious. There isn't anything too out of place in the room. A uniform, some school books, and a CD of something called Méditation de Thaïs. Aoi snaps a few photos and also discovers something hidden, and takes it with her. The plan went well, and the girls were about to go when Sakura comes home. She rightfully accuses the duo of coming here just to dig up dirt on her sister. Her mother scolds her for being impolite and tells Sakura to get ready for dinner with the Yasuokas. It seems that now that Chiori is gone, her parents wants to marry Sakura to Yasuoka instead. Sakura yells out that it's because her parents are like this that her sister died. Our girls decide it's a good moment to leave. On their way home, they discuss what they've just witnessed. Aoi feels sick to think parents would force marriage upon their daughter. And the mother seems so nice before then. Akari was not fooled. That lady was as selfish as they get. Even when talking about her dead daughter, it was all about how she was not defiant and always doing what she was told. She loved her daughter for how obedient she was, not her actual qualities, and claiming she must have been happy since they gave her all the best stuff. As if that's a replacement for actual love. Natsume's parents seems to only have cared about what their daughter could bring them, not if she was actually happy. Aoi is pretty disillusioned. Turns out the school princess didn't have such a blessed life and had to put up with a lot just to keep up appearance. Aoi also reveals what she found in the room. It's Shiori Natsume's diary. Everything could be answered now, but Aoi doesn't want to read it. To her, that's going too far. I'd say they're way past too far at this point, but I guess everyone has their limit. So Aoi decides to hold on to the diary but not read it. For now. Back to school, they check out the pictures of Natsume's room they took. If you pick the right ones, you should have a picture of Natsume's desk, her stereo, and her closet. On her desk, some homework can be seen and a letter with nothing in it. Was she going to send something by mail? In this day and age? On her stereo, the CD of Méditation de Thaïs can be seen. It's a violin and harp piece that actually exists? It's part of a French opera named Thaï from 1894. The story of a monk who meets a prostitute and tries to bring her back to the path of God, but in succeeding, realizes that he actually had feelings for her all along, which is why he helped her. Sadly, it was too late. The girl died in a monastery before he could proclaim his love. This might seem a bit irrelevant, but remember this opera, okay? And finally, Shiori's closet. In there, some neutral clothes can be seen, but there's also one pretty flashy one piece in between the mix, something no one ever saw Natsume wear. The next day, our girls will investigate the last person of interest, Kana Murakami, which Aoi is a little bit scared of. They begin by doing their usual little digging on her. Kana is a model with the magazine Cortine. She's not in any clubs and usually hangs out with her friends when she's not working. Rumor says she did not like Natsume, always bad-mouthing her with her friends. There's also that rumor that said that Kana said, "I'm glad she's dead," when referring to Natsume's passing. To everyone's knowledge, the two never actually spoke, but if you speak to the janitor, he reveals he saw the two meet once. When we go meet Kana and her gang, they don't even let Aoi ask any questions. They just passively mock her for being in the newspaper club. So retro. But when Aoi mentions Natsume, the mood sours. Kana refuses outright to answer any questions, and her gang starts insulting Natsume, saying things like, "We're so relieved she's gone," or "Even dead, we can't be free of her presence. So annoying." Then Kana chases Aoi out. Poor Aoi. She's so humiliated. She wasn't even able to get one word in. As a good friend, Akari laughs at her patheticness. They did notice that Kana did not insult Shiori, only her gang did. So that's one clue. But if they want to talk properly to Kana, they'll have to do it when she's alone. Sadly though, Kana was their last lead and now they're at a bit of a loss. So they'll call it a day and head home. As they walk together, Akari pulls out her cell and starts texting. At the same time, Aoi gets a text. It's from Akari. Akari decides they should split up, and she hopes the follower will tell her, not Aoi. Just as planned. Akari then leads the pursuer to a secluded place to confront them, but this person didn't come to talk. When Aoi, who followed them, arrives, the culprit runs away. Luckily, Akari's alright, so they go home. The next morning, Akari is not in school. Aoi freaks out, but she shows up during second period. Turns out she just went to the doctor. She also has something to show Aoi. The assailant left something in Akari's pocket. This means it was not just a random attack. This is about their investigation, so the assailant is most likely one of the person of interest they interrogated. But which one? Akari has an idea. It can only really be Sumikazu Yasuoka, Natsume's ex-fiancé. He's the only one tall enough and strong enough. So the girls decide to pay a little visit to the boys' school. When confronting Yasuoka about the attack, he plays dumb at first, but Akari won't let him get away with it. She figured out that he must have learned from Shiori's mother that they went to her house and wanted to prevent them from finding Natsume's secret. Yasuoka demands proof for such accusation, but Akari isn't playing detective here. She doesn't need proof to hurt his image. The real reason she went to the hospital that morning was to get a medical certificate. With that, she can file a victim report accusing him. If that doesn't work, she can just spread the rumor that he attacked her. The heir of the Yasuoka family attacking girls at night? What a story! But she's willing to drop everything in exchange for Natsume's secret. Akari is not to be trifled with. And Yasuoka, faced with all these threats, doesn't back down. They can do their worst, but he will never divulge the secret of his late fiancée. Even if he does admit that he didn't love her romantically, he did intend to marry her, not to please his parents, but of his own free will. And he will never, ever betray the trust she put in him. To this, Akari backs down. What can she do? The guy clearly made up his mind. On their way back, Akari also admits that she was half bluffing. But if he's willing to go this far to protect this secret, then there was no way to make him talk. When investigating him, the girls heard that Yasuoka didn't love Natsume. He just confirmed that fact. And yet, he was still willing to endure so much just to protect her secret. People tend to have a binary way of seeing love. You either like or dislike someone. But human connection is much more complex than that, and I like how this game portrays it. When they get back to school, Aoi is very dejected. The investigation is going nowhere, everyone gets mad at her, and now Akari got attacked. If her best friend is gonna get hurt over this, then it's not worth it. Akari assures her that she's fine and she doesn't care what comes her way, but it doesn't cheer up Aoi. She feels like no one actually wants her to succeed, so what's the point? With that, a very sad Aoi says goodbye to Akari, apologizing for dragging her in messes all the time, and goes home. But Akari won't have that. Sure, she doesn't care about all this, but she also hates seeing Aoi like this and wants to give her a win. And so, she'll go meet with the one person they can get on their side, Sakura Natsume. Sakura is not pleased to see Akari, but she came with cookies and charisma. She first apologized for their insensitiveness and announces that Aoi is giving up on the investigation, so she doesn't have to worry about that anymore. But Sakura admits that she does want to know the truth too. Sakura is like Aoi. She can't believe her sister would kill herself. Or rather, she doesn't want to believe it. Because if she did, it would be partly her fault. Sakura reveals that she saw her sister as a life-size puppet, always doing what everyone expected of her, never rebelling against her parents' increasing demands, and taking it all with a smile. It drove her mad. Because of that, Sakura would say harsh words to Shiori and avoid her at school, but Shiori was still kind to her, which fueled her hatred even more. But what if that smiling puppet wasn't okay with going along with her parents' whims? What if she truly got hurt by her sister's word? What if, behind her smile, she was miserable? And Sakura didn't notice any of it until it was too late. That is what scares her most. Sakura wanted Shiori to be more assertive. She couldn't stand seeing her following her parents' orders and marrying a guy who clearly didn't love her. But in the end, Sakura was still pushing her ideals on her sister, forcing her to act the way she wanted. She wasn't too different from her parents after all. The first investigation on Sakura revealed that she hated her sister, but that wasn't really the case. The truth was much more complex, something simple rumors could never truly capture. Akari lets Sakura know that it's clear that she loved her sister and wanted what was best for her. Unlike her parents, she actually wanted Shiori to be happy, and that must have gotten through to Shiori. So she's not a culprit in this. She's not guilty. And so, she should let herself cry. Sakura thanks Akari for her kind words and says she'll support the investigations from now on. She wants to know the truth. It might be unpleasant, but she's ready. And Akari calls Aoi that night to tell her everything. Okay, man, the night gossip call in pajamas while in bed. They're such besties. I can't even. Look at Akari's messy room. No, focus. With a new ally, Aoi is touched. She's no longer the only one fighting for the truth, which inspires her. She's fired up and starts planning her next moves. The investigation is back on, baby. The next day, Aoi decides they should question the club members, which they avoided until now to not bother them. Thanks to this approach, they find a bunch of new info. Like how Shiori mentioned that she actually hates classical music despite being in the orchestra club, or how she really loved cat but couldn't keep one at home because of her parents' allergy, so she would take care of the strays near the school. There's a local crazy cat lady that does the same thing in the neighborhood, and Shiori has been seen with her several times. But there was also this one time Shiori was seen caring for a stray cat while crying. What's that about? The two girls actually met the cat hag one night as they walked home from school. but they didn't question her. They also learned that Shiori was passing by the hallway near the science class often, the one leading to the rooftop. And not only that, it seems someone else would follow her there. We also get to speak to Sakura, who is totally open to talk now. She tells us about the night her sister died. She last saw her around 9:30 when she crossed her in the hall. Sakura thought she'd got back to bed after that, but it seemed that was when she left the house to go to school. They also met a girl who saw Natsume that night at the train station near school at around 10:30. Shiori was wearing casual clothes, makeup, and didn't seem gloomy at all. Another girl was out jogging that night and saw someone leaving the school gate at around 11:30. The police report claimed that Shiori died between 11 and 12, so it would match the timeline perfectly. Okay, why didn't we interrogate the club members earlier? Clearly they're the ones in the know. Now, Aoi is sure. Natsume was not alone on the roof that night. But who was with her? For now, she'll dig deeper on our remaining persons of interest, Miyuki, Kana, and Midori. It's bound to be one of them, but to discover which one, Aoi will need a better understanding of the relationship those three had with Natsume. Aoi decides to first investigate Kana again. She couldn't even talk to her last time, so she's the one they know the least about. All they know is even if her gang seems to hate Shiori, Kana herself never joins in the bashing. They question Sakura about Kana, and she reveals that Shiori once said Kana was an honest and kind girl. So at least Shiori didn't seem to hate her. But all this digging caught the eye of Kana's gang, and Aoi is learned by one of Kana's minion and is taken away. When Akari finds out, she gets a real bad feeling and searches the whole school for Aoi. Aoi is being held by Kana and her gang in a shed. Or, more precisely, she's being held by the gang and Kana is just annoyed and wants nothing to do with this. The gang starts going off on Aoi, calling her club dumb and saying she must stop the slander of Kana. The whole time, Kana herself stays eerily quiet. Aoi ignores the girl and asks Kana directly if it's true she said, "I'm glad she's dead," when referring to Shiori. Kana confirms this with a smile. Aoi calls that cruel, but Kana replies that Aoi knows nothing of her. So what? Aoi heard a few rumors and that gives her the right to judge Kana's action? And Kana is not wrong. So far, our whole investigation is based on hearsays and rumors. All Aoi really gathered is a surface-level impression of everyone. That's why she wrongly thought Sakura hated her sister. How is she supposed to claim she understands Kana's perspective in this? Luckily, Akari bursts into the scene to save Aoi. She's holding one of theirs hostage and is threatening to pull on her earring until her ear rips. Damn, Akari. The rest of the gang is quick to back down. Akari asks that they leave, but that Kana stays. Reluctantly, they comply. And now Aoi can finally question Kana in peace. Aoi asks why Kana never joins in the Shiori bashing with her friend. If it's true she met with Natsume once after school, and what she truly feels about Shiori. Kana still refuses to answer. It's not so much that she doesn't want to talk about Natsume, it's that she doesn't want to talk about it with Aoi. Kana figured out that Aoi is the type of person who takes things at face value, but people are not that simple. They have masks, facades, side of them they never show in public. And Kana really hates people that take others' false persona as the true thing. Which is exactly what Aoi has been doing all this time. Aoi responds that all she has is rumors, since she'll never be able to talk to Natsume herself. Kana claps back that that's exactly why this whole thing is useless. Aoi will never actually know the truth about Natsume, so what's the point? Akari remarks that she actually shares this opinion completely. But she also knows that Aoi doesn't care if there's a point to all of this. She just does what she wants, and that's what Akari loves in Aoi, her relentless stubbornness. But now that the questioning is over, Akari is gonna make sure none of these girls mess with her Aoi anymore. She kindly sends away Aoi and speaks to Murakami privately. Akari asks if this kidnapping was Kana's idea. Kana explains it was not. It was her gang who wanted to teach Aoi a lesson. Akari then concludes that even though Kana presents herself as a queen bee, she's actually the one being led by her gang. A fun twist on the mean girl group trope, which is probably more true to life. But no matter who's in charge here, Akari will make sure they don't pull something like this again. And to ensure that, Akari whispers something in Kana's ear. Back outside, Aoi is wondering what's going on when a traumatized Kana runs away in fear. Aoi asks Akari what's going on. Akari simply said she left Kana with a threat, and Aoi doesn't dare ask more. Next up is Miyuki Endo. Aoi also couldn't really speak to her properly, so she'll have to come prepared this time. She digs around once more on Miyuki and Natsume's relationship and finds out that even though Miyuki is playing it cool and detached now, she was actually very impacted by Shiori's death and the possibility that it was suicide, to the point of not talking for a while. She seems to want to pretend they were just clubmates, but clearly they had something deeper going on. After the digging, Aoi wants to be alone with her thoughts for a while, and Akari waits for her in the library. With her thoughts now gathered, Aoi decides it would be the perfect time to go question Miyuki again. She wonders if she should bring Akari or leave her to her books. If you want a secret ending, you go in alone. For those not in the know, what Miyuki just played was Méditation de Thaïs. I told you it would become important. Miyuki remarks that Aoi is alone today and salutes Aoi for working so late on her club duties. Aoi notices that Miyuki is much nicer than last time, but why? Aoi then asks Miyuki how come her relationship with Shiori got strained after Miyuki passed the title of concert mistress. The two were said to be very close. How come one decision damaged their friendship like that? Miyuki herself doesn't really get why Shiori became distant after receiving the title, but she did note that Shiori was acting strange at the time. Shiori got upset at Miyuki passing on the title to her. She seemed to have taken it as a betrayal for some reason. Miyuki responds that if Shiori doesn't want the title, they can discuss it at the next club meeting. Shiori is distraught. She feels like Miyuki is getting away from her and feels lonely. Miyuki tries to comfort her, but Shiori cuts her off, saying she's suddenly changed her mind and will take on the role if that's what everyone wants. She also adds, "I respect you, Miyuki. I always wished that someday you could be a friend I could talk to about anything. But I guess it was just me who thought that." With those harsh words, she leaves the room, covering her face. Miyuki was very surprised to see Shiori act like that. She always saw her as a positive girl, and since then, things never really went back to normal between them. It's like something broke. The question being answered, Miyuki asks if she can go now. Aoi thanks her for her time and is about to leave when she asks Miyuki about the song she was playing when she arrived. Aoi confesses she is a total novice in classical music. Miyuki asks if there's any classical song she knows, but Aoi can't really name any until one comes to mind, Méditation de Thaïs. Miyuki's mood changes completely. Miyuki demands how she heard of this piece, and Aoi admits it was during her investigation. Miyuki then grabs Aoi and demands answers. Why? Why did Shiori die? Miyuki implores Aoi to tell her, but Aoi doesn't know and asks Miyuki to let her go. Akari comes in the room, which makes Miyuki freak out even more. She runs out the door, pleading them to not get involved with her anymore. Well, that's different. The cool, calm, and mature Miyuki is in a much worse mental state than she lets on. But one thing is clear. She doesn't seem to know anything about Shiori's death. Hopefully we can find the truth and ease her torment a little. The next day, Akari is late to meet up. Aoi finds out that she was taken by Midori's bodyguards and is sure they're up to no good. So it's her turn to search the whole school and save her friend. Akari was taken to the janitor's room, but unlike Aoi, she's unimpressed by this kidnapping. The girls are trying to convince Akari to give up on the investigation since it hurts Midori, according to them. Akari asks if it's something Midori expressed herself, but they respond that no. But they're her friends. It's normal to pick up on things like that when you're friends. Akari is unconvinced. Basically, they're just assuming what Midori wants and act in her name. There's nothing noble about it. The trio doesn't really take kindly to that and proceed to threaten her with her one single weakness. Bugs. Remember, that's the one thing Akari is scared of. Being attacked in the street? Fine. But bugs? Luckily for Akari, someone stops them. It's Midori? It's now clear she had no part in this and asks the three girls to let Akari go. Midori also takes this opportunity to tell off these three girls. They've been hanging around her out of pity since Natsume died, but she doesn't want them around anymore. The group takes it well. They really did feel bad for Midori, but if she says she's alright now, then they'll leave her be. Midori apologizes to Akari, but Akari doesn't see it that way. Midori saved her, and for a timid girl, she was much more direct than she'd expect. Aoi comes in to save the day, a little too late, but at least now she can question Midori, the last suspect. Aoi asks Midori if the reason she said Shiori was never her friend was because she believed Shiori was only pitying her like those three girls were. Midori reveals that, yes, she does believe so. Midori was always alone. The only reasons Shiori approached her was for school business. The two talked a bit, and Shiori asked why Midori is still at school so late since she's not in a club. Midori confessed that she doesn't want to go home. Her parents are very strict. When she's at school, she can evade their harsh words and use the excuse that she was studying. Shiori can relate. She then asks if Midori likes being alone. Midori answers that it's not like she likes it. She sees it as inevitable. She's not very social, and people don't really like her, but she doesn't want to change who she is just to please others. That last comment stings Shiori a bit. Midori then explains that she has trouble understanding other people, and doesn't see a point in befriending people you don't understand. If it was up to her, she wouldn't even go to school or pursue college. But her parents would never let her do that, of course. Shiori notes that they're kind of similar, which Midori doesn't believe at all. I mean, this is the Shiori Natsume. What can she have in common with a quiet girl like her? Shiori laughs it off and asks if Midori would want to hang out more. Midori is unsure, but Shiori remarks that they don't need a deep understanding to just hang out. She's having a good time right now and wants to continue. Simple as that. And Midori accepts. After that, Midori started spending most of her time with Shiori. They didn't speak in public, but in private. Shiori would tell her things she'd never tell her actual friends. Aoi notes that their relationship reminds her of the one she has with Akari. Two girls just doing what they want. And what they want is to hang out and support each other. Not out of a sense of duty, just because it feels right. They're very different, but as long as they still have fun together, they'll stay friends. Simple as that. Aoi asks what made Midori think Shiori didn't actually like her. Midori explained that Shiori got strange suddenly, not in public, but with her she was uneasy, as if something wasn't quite right. Midori asked what was wrong, of course, but Shiori never answered, saying she didn't want to upset Midori with it. To this day, Midori still has no idea what it could have been, and this lack of trust makes Midori convinced that Shiori was just pretending to be her friend. With all that we've learned about Shiori Natsume, I don't think it was the case, but Midori lacks the self-confidence to see it any other way. Midori was not a very prime suspect in the beginning. Her involvement with Shiori seemed anecdotic at best, but it's clear now that a lot happened behind closed doors, and the two of them were actually very close in private. After all this, Aoi can't help but feel a little down. They spoke with all the persons of interest, and they're still not closer to the truth. Now what? Well, let's check the facts. It's been established that Shiori was with someone that night on the roof. It has to be one of our last three suspects: Miyuki, Midori, or Kana. But which one? Kana was believed to be some sort of rival of Shiori, but when Aoi spoke to her in private, she didn't seem to have any ill will towards Shiori. In fact, she didn't even seem close enough to be called anything more than an acquaintance. It seems it was the public that pinned the two against each other. Midori didn't seem like much at first, but now it's pretty clear she was probably Shiori's closest friend, her confidant even. Although, even to her, she wouldn't say everything. And Miyuki, who seemed cold, calm, and detached about the whole affair, is actually probably the one who is the most affected by the incident. The lack of answers is driving her nuts, but it also means she doesn't really know much about the truth. Aoi thinks and thinks, re-examines all the clues, and then, suddenly, she's got it. She shares her hypothesis with Akari and they agree. It's plausible. The problem is, they don't have any proof. They'll need to lure out the culprit and confront them head-on. A message is sent to them, one that is sure to get their attention, telling them to meet them at night on the school rooftop. If you pick the right person, Midori Hahakigi will be there to meet the girls. She remarks that their message was in poor taste. Aoi copied Shiori's handwriting, wrote her a letter and left it in her locker, just like Shiori used to do. Midori doesn't have a phone or PC, so Aoi deduced that Midori and Shiori must have communicated via letters, which is why there was a letter on Shiori's desk. Aoi apologizes for the poor taste, but she thought it was the only way to convince her to come. Aoi figured out that the rooftop was Shiori and Midori's secret hangout spot, since the two of them would only speak in private. It's also the reason why we saw Midori cry by the roof door at the beginning of the game. Midori then reveals another letter, the one she received from Shiori that told her to meet her on the roof on that fateful night. Proving our theory, Midori was the one with her when she passed. Midori explained she went to meet her that night because she believed she'd finally get some answers about what was bothering Shiori. Shiori had stopped replying to her letters and was getting more and more anxious. We get a flashback of that fatiguing night, and finally, we see her, Shiori Natsume. She has a portrait and everything. She first thanks Midori for coming and notes that her casual clothes are very cute. Midori isn't here for pleasantries, and asks outright what she wanted to tell her and why it had to be at school in the middle of the night. Couldn't Shiori just told her by letter? Shiori explains that it didn't feel right to say it in a letter, and she would be devastated if she didn't get a reply. I kinda can't take any more of that, she also adds. So for all those reasons, she wanted to meet in person. Midori demands the truth. Why has Shiori been acting strange? Surely that's what she came here to tell her. But Shiori admits that, no, that is not what she wanted to talk about. Sadly, she really can't tell her the reason of her worry. It's something that regards only her, and she wants to deal with it alone. This annoys Midori. She used to be just fine on her own, but now she's worrying about someone else's problem all the time. This was supposed to be an uncomplicated friendship, but Midori admits it. She likes Shiori a lot. Shiori is clearly touched by her words. Then Midori adds that even if they grow up, get jobs, and marry some guy in the future, she wishes to always be friends with Shiori. To this, Shiori turns away. And as Shiori thanks Midori for her honesty, we don't get a portrait. It's just a theory of mine, but I think Shiori's portrait is used to show us her true self. When she's being true to her feelings, we see her face, but when she's not, then she's just a sprite. I could be wrong there, but food for thought. Shiori then promises to always be friends with her, and she'll definitely tell her what's bothering her soon. Just not now. Shiori then wants to bask in the scenery and sits on top of the railing to soak in the night air. Midori notes that Shiori still hasn't asked her the question she brought her here to ask, but Shiori doesn't want to ask that question anymore. To her, the mood is gone. Midori then tells Shiori to come down from the railing. It's dangerous and she could fall. Shiori claims that it would be fine if she'd fall. In this moment, on this lovely night, she's happy. She's at peace. Midori berates her for saying weird stuff and says that they have to go. The last train will leave soon, and turns out, all this time, it really was only an accident. A tragic, sudden, unforeseen accident. Midori said nothing to the police by fear of being accused of pushing her. And even if she came clean now, it wouldn't change anything. Shiori would still be dead. So she kept quiet. But now that our two girls know the truth, what are they gonna do about it? Aoi did this entire investigation out of her selfish need to know the truth. She couldn't believe that Shiori would kill herself, and she was right. In that regard, she is satisfied and could drop everything there. But some people are suffering from not knowing the truth. Sakura, that blames herself, Miyuki, that is tormented by doubt, and so many more we probably don't know about. So for their sake, Aoi wants to reveal the truth. Sadly, that would mean Midori would need to come clean to the police, but Midori accepts it. She only asks that Aoi does the talking to the police. It's just beyond her. Aoi accepts and they're about to leave, but Midori wants to stay up here a bit longer. As they head down, Aoi decides she can't be the one to talk to the police. It wouldn't be right. She turns back to tell Midori when Midori had enough. She just wants to join Shiori now. Aoi tries to pull her back up but is too weak. Akari tells her to let go of Midori or she'll fall, but Aoi won't hear it. Akari then shouts to Midori to climb back up. If she wants to die, she can do it alone, but she won't let her take Aoi with her. Akari even resorts to threatening to tarnish Shiori's name if Midori lets Aoi die. To this, Midori gives in and climbs back up. 2 days later, we see that everyone's made it out okay. Our girls accompanied Midori to the police station and she confessed everything. Shiori's family has been informed, and the case is pretty much closed. Well, almost. There's one last thing to do. Reveal everything to Sakura. She already heard it from the police, but she's happy to get a more personal recollection of the events. Sakura thanks the two girls. She now knows that her sister did not die unhappy. Sure, she still has regrets, but now her doubts and guilt won't torment her anymore. She'll move on and live happily, as her sister would have wished. Well, at least all of Aoi's investigation made one person happy. And that's the end. Wait, really? But what was Shiori's secret? The one Yasuoka was keeping? What was bothering her so much? And what was she going to ask Midori before changing her mind? Can it really be the end if all those questions still remain? Well, Maybe it's better not to know the whole truth. Ignorance is bliss, after all. There's a secret ending to this game, an ending that gives pretty much all the answers. But if you seek that bonus ending, this game goes from a detective game with some heavier themes to a straight-up psychological horror game. This current ending is incomplete, but at least everyone is happy. Should you really dig deeper? Will it be worth it? Oh well, it's your choice. But first, let's check out the menu of the game. We now have access to the statues. Each main character gets a pedestal and a statue of them. It seemed like just a fun bonus at first, but creator Uri revealed that each statue is meant to represent a Greek god associated with the character. Since the beginning of the game, we had the statue of Aoi and Akari, but more statues get added when each character's arc is done. And now that we've completed the first normal end, we have access to the statue of Midori and Shiori. Midori is portrayed by the goddess Oisis, the goddess of grief, anxiety, and depression. It's pretty fitting for the sad, grief-stricken girl that is Midori. Hopefully, she'll get better now that she's confessed to everything. Shiori is portrayed by the goddess Hestia, goddess of fire and domestic life. I don't really get that one. It's true Hestia was immensely worshipped. Since she's the goddess of fire, she's got a bit of all the fire sacrifices given to other gods. But somehow, domestic life doesn't really fit Shiori? I might be missing a myth or context. If you have any theories, I'd love to hear them. The bonus chapters begin some months later. Our girls are studying at Akari's place and Aoi comments on the mess in her room. Akari's not really receptive to the criticism and proposes she brings out snacks instead. Now that Aoi is alone in the room, she gets really annoyed by the mess. Akari even lets her desk drawer open with papers sticking out of it. Aoi decides to close it for her, but notices something. Akari comes back, but Aoi says she just remembered a thing she has to do and leaves quickly. Aoi is uneasy. She checks the pictures of Akari's drawer she took. Inside was letters made by Midori and Shiori. How would Akari have this? Did she borrow them from Midori? But why? What use could she have for them? The investigation has been over for months. Aoi is also troubled by the fact that Akari didn't say anything about it to her. They usually share everything. But hey, maybe she just forgot. She'll just ask Akari tomorrow at school. But after class, as Aoi was about to ask her, Akari announces that she's doing some cleaning today. Aoi was right. Her room is a real mess, so she'll be busy with that for a few days. Aoi wishes her good luck on her cleaning and completely forgets to ask her about the letters. Oh well, if Akari can't answer, she can just ask Midori. Aoi looks around the school for Midori but can't find her. She finds out that Midori hasn't been coming to school for 2 weeks. Aoi gets really worried. So she goes to see Midori's home to make sure she's alright. And she's not looking good. Apparently, she quit school and is gonna study from correspondence from now on. She just can't stay in a school so full of memories of Shiori. Even now, she's still tormented by her grief and is still convinced Shiori hated her in secret. Aoi asks, why does she think that, since it really doesn't seem like that to her? Midori explains that her correspondence via letters with Shiori suddenly stopped one day. Shiori wouldn't reply to any letters of hers. Midori kept sending more and more, but never got a response. Because of this, Midori just can't trust that Shiori saw her as a friend. In an unsure voice, Aoi asks Midori if she met Akari recently. Midori answers that no, she hasn't seen anyone from school in a while. Aoi thanks her for her time and leaves. At home, she ponders. Aoi recalls Shiori's words from her last night. Doing it by letter, it just wouldn't work out, you know? I'd feel really bad if I didn't get a reply, and I kind of can't take any more of that. meaning Midori was not the only one not getting a response. Shiori didn't get replies to her letters either, which means somebody was intercepting their correspondence. Someone who would still have the letters in their possession. Just like Aoi is shattered. Akari knew Shiori and her friendship with Midori since the beginning? Why didn't she say so? Why does she have so many secrets? Aoi is also reminded of all the loose ends left from her investigation. This is too much. She decides to reopen the Shiori case, but alone this time. Once she has the answers to her questions, then she will confront Akari and demand answers. Until then, she'll have to be discreet. The next day, Aoi begins her usual questioning around the school again. She finds Kana's groupies who apologize for the whole kidnapping thing and tell her where to find Kana. Kana is surprised to see her but is relieved to see Akari's not with her. She did threaten her last time they met. Kana asks if it's true that Shiori's death was an accident, and Aoi confirms it was. Kana is honestly surprised. She was sure she had killed herself. To her, Shiori's position just seemed like a difficult one to be in. She confesses she herself, as the other school idol, wishes she could just end it all sometimes. Not that she is suicidal, just that she gets the sentiment. Kana is much more introspective than you'd first think. She likes to appear as a dumb bimbo, but that's a facade. Aoi asks Kana if that's why she declared, "I'm glad she's dead," when learning of Shiori's death. Kana explains, at first, she really didn't care about Shiori, but everyone kept pitting them against each other, compared their beauties and arguing about which one was prettier. It annoyed her so much. Kana recalls a time where two girls were gossiping about her in the bathroom, calling Kana too gaudy and reliant on makeup, and how they much prefer Shiori over her. Later on, possibly to cheer her up, her friends start trash-talking Shiori, saying people only find her pretty because she's rich and she has no charisma. Kana laughs along when... That night, Kana is feeling really bummed. She did to Shiori what others did to her and feels terrible for it. She admits she is jealous of Shiori. Kana has her good looks, but that's about it. Meanwhile, Shiori is smart, great at violin, and loved by all. Kana then wonders what Shiori must think of her. She probably takes her for a mean gossip jerk. Or maybe Shiori is just too high and mighty to even think about her, which makes Kana feel even more inferior. But a few days later, Shiori comes to speak to her. She asks Kana how much the dress she was wearing on the cover of the magazine she works for costs. Kana tells her it's 80k, which is way too pricey for Shiori. Kana asks, what's the big deal? She's rich, no? Shiori explains she's not, her parents are, and they'd never buy her an outfit like that. Kana offers to lend her the dress, and Shiori, ecstatic, thanks Kana thoroughly. The next day, Kana brings the dress, and Shiori asks if she can help her put it on and give her opinion on it as a model. Kana, flattered, accepts. Shiori puts the dress, and Kana bluntly says it doesn't work at all. Shiori thinks that means she can't pull off a look like that, but Kana retorts it's not that. Her shoes are too flat, her makeup too bland, and her hair needs more curl. Then she can make it work. It's not a question of who can and can't wear something. It's all about how you arrange yourself to make it work. What matters if you want to wear it. Fashion is about self-expression after all. Shiori is very thankful for the advice. It seems she really didn't believe such a dress was meant for her. She admits she didn't think she could look good in those clothes, but she wanted to try. All her clothes were chosen by her parents, and she wanted a dress that felt more like her. She also has a special occasion she wants to wear it to, but she'll hold off until she knows more about fashion. Kana takes this opportunity to ask why she's acting so normal, since she heard her and her friends badmouth her. Is she just above that kind of insult from nobodies like her? Shiori admits that she was actually furious that day and even thought of punching Kana in the face. But she also thought Kana was the best person to talk to about fashion, so that's why she came to her. Shiori confesses her friends say the same bad things about Kana in private, and she has joined in the conversation, but only as a way of keeping peace. However, she was really pleased to meet her and talk like this. She admires Kana's honesty and admits she's pretty envious of her. Shiori declares that she tends to continue to go along with her friends bad-mouthing her because it's easier that way. So she invites Kana to do the same. But the real Kana she met today, Shiori will never forget her. Kana presents herself as a tough beauty queen, but she's actually very insecure. She was envious of Shiori because it seemed like she was loved by simply being herself, as Kana had to work hard to keep up appearance. But when the two met, she understood they were much more alike. From then on, she wasn't annoyed when being compared to her. The bond they had forged that day was stronger than any gossip. Kana reveals she didn't say she was glad Shiori died out of malice. At the time, she believed she died by suicide and wanted to respect her decision. If that was really her choice, if it was all too much for her, then she was glad that she found peace. Kana is honestly my favorite side character in the game. She's such a bold departure from the typical mean girl archetype. Usually those characters are self-obsessed, mean, but have something like a sad backstory to make them sympathetic. Kana is, ultimately, a people pleaser. She carries herself like how she thinks people want her to, avoids conflicts and lets her friend do awful things in her name. Because she has this need to be loved, like most of the real beauty queens of this world. Kana's statue represents Aphrodite, the goddess of sexual love and beauty. I'm unsure if there's any deeper symbolism there, other than her beauty and maybe her need for love and adoration, but it is interesting to view it from the relation Aphrodite and Hestia had. Both goddesses were highly worshipped, but for opposite reasons. One is a virgin symbol for domestic life, and the other is the symbol of passion, love, and sex. So their domain would sometimes clash, sometimes interlap. And I think that's a cool way of seeing Kana and Shiori's relation. As the conversation is ending, Kana asks if Shiori really died by accident, and if Akari had anything to do with it. Aoi is terrified but asks what she means. Kana reveals the threat Akari left her with. A very detailed description of how Shiori was found dead. Her head smashed, her face unrecognizable. And how it would be such a shame if Kana's face was to end up like that too. Aoi assures Kana that Akari didn't have anything to do with Shiori's death. She was simply citing what they had read in the police report. Kana is revealed, but Aoi is not. Even if it was to defend her, Akari went too far with that threat, and it's making Aoi uncomfortable. There was someone else who was uneasy around Akari. Miyuki Endo. She was way more guarded when Akari was around, so Aoi decides she'll talk to her next. She tracks her down to a cafe and joins her for a while. Miyuki apologizes for her outburst last time they met. Aoi assures her it's fine and asks Midori how she feels about the whole Shiori affair now that it's revealed to be an accident. Miyuki answers, "Concerto for two violins." The song that is playing right now. A dialogue between two violins, thinking of the other and accommodating. That harmony can result in such beauty. I wish to have that sort of relationship with Shiori. Aoi asks about Méditation de Thaïs. Why did the mention of that song put her in such a state? Miyuki confesses it reminds her of painful things. One night, Miyuki found Shiori in the clubroom listening to that song, seeming down. Miyuki asked why, and Shiori confessed she read the original book Thais and didn't like the story at all. The monk finally had the courage to proclaim his love, but the courtesan was dying and didn't get to hear his words. It hit too close to home for her. Miyuki noted that it's not like Shiori to get this down because of a book. Shiori is clearly hurt by that statement. Then, she admits she doesn't like violin. Her parents made her play it when she was young. She doesn't even like opera or classical. She then asks if saying things like that is like her. Miyuki is confused. Shiori then goes on to say that she can't accept things as they are and needs to act. But it's not that simple. She has one problem she just needs courage to overcome, but she has another she feels completely overwhelmed by. To this, Miyuki responds rather coldly that Shiori should value more the things she acquired, like her violin skills. Miyuki believes all she has is violin, so she doesn't like when people talk about their skill as if disposable. She asks Shiori to not ask for advice on such matters again, and she'll pretend she never heard it. Shiori is troubled, then suddenly changes her mood completely and assures her she's fine now and won't bring it up again as she leaves the room, covering her face. Miyuki goes on to say that Shiori really did went back to normal after that night, as if nothing happened. So she thought it was all okay, but then came the issue of the concert mistress title, when their friendship broke. Miyuki was horrified by the possibility that Shiori died by suicide. If so, could she have prevented it? Her junior came to her for help, and she shoved her away. Miyuki didn't want to pamper Shiori. She had to be strict with all the club members, Shiori included. Miyuki thought she wasn't doing anything bad at the time, but what if her coldness caused her junior's death? Aoi comments that it wouldn't be pampering to just listen to your junior's worries. The whole point of a club is to help and support each other, no? To this, Miyuki asks Aoi why Akari isn't with her today, adding, "I hate that girl." No, that's not it. It's not hate, but fear. I'm afraid of her. We get a flashback of Miyuki during her violin lesson. Her teacher is suggesting she quits the orchestra club since she's a third year and should focus on studies and her violin lessons. Miyuki explains that she's a loner who was never good at fitting in with a group. She's too competitive and always ends up isolating herself. But she doesn't want that to be the case forever. She'd like to play in an orchestra professionally, and to do so, she needs to learn to get along with others, which is why she'd like to continue with her club for as long as she can. Miyuki also feels like violin is all she has. She doesn't have any other real talent and isn't very good socially, so being part of a club makes her feel like she's part of a group while offering her only skill, violin. Later, Miyuki attends the meeting of the library assistants, but a bit late. Only Akari stayed behind. All they have to do is put labels on books, so Miyuki gets to work. As they work, Akari compliments Miyuki for her last violin performance and points out that they changed soloists at the second part, from Miyuki to Shiori. Akari admits she doesn't really like how Shiori plays. It's too perfect and soulless to her taste. Akari much prefers Miyuki's much bolder and passionate playing. Miyuki is flattered, but defends her junior, saying Shiori is way more suited for harmonies than she is. Miyuki always takes centerpiece, which isn't always what you want. Miyuki also admits she lacks people skills, which made her a bit feared in the club at first. But Shiori is good with people and got the whole club to accept her. Akari declares that it could also be a disadvantage. That if Miyuki prioritized the harmony of the club over her own skill, she could lose that bold uniqueness of hers and become a pale generic version of herself. Miyuki is troubled by her words. Akari goes on to say that it's fine if she's relying on Shiori to have fun in her club, if that's what she wants. If that means she'll lose her skill, whatever. It'd be bad, but she's not a pro yet, so who cares? Miyuki wants to protest, to say that she's not relying on Shiori. Whoopsie. Dropped it. Sorry about that. So, what were you gonna say? Nothing. After a while, Akari stands up to leave. Miyuki wants to explain her point again, but Akari won't hear her excuses. She repeats again that she does love her violin, then leaves, leaving Miyuki to cry. It seems Akari's skills she's shown during the investigations were not always used for good. She has a way to lead the conversation without appearing manipulative. She shook Miyuki to her core and never let her defend her views, and her dropping the book was totally a way to disturb Miyuki. Miyuki is a true artist, one who dedicates her life to her craft, but at the expense of other things, such as socializing. She believed it was normal, that her loneliness was the price of skill. But Shiori showed her another path, one where she could shine with her talent, but surrounded by others. But after a while, she began suspecting that she was only using others to distract her from her loneliness, and Shiori was the one she depended on the most. So she quit the concert mistress to not be dependent on others anymore. Miyuki doesn't see it because she's been a loner her whole life. But enjoying others' company isn't using or depending on them, it's just being friends. She couldn't understand that, and in trying to be more independent, she pushed away her dearest friend that needed help. The statue of Miyuki represents Melpomene, the muse of tragedy. There isn't many myths about her, but she is said to sing songs to mourn the death of important figures. Perhaps it signifies that Miyuki's music will reflect her loss and what it taught her. Aoi is now more troubled than ever. Every new clue makes Akari look worse. But something else was discovered during Aoi's talk with Miyuki. Shiori didn't have one, but two secret problems she was troubled with. One that was up to her, and one that overwhelmed her. What could they have been? Well, who do you talk to when you're overwhelmed? The school counselor, of course. We did know Shiori met with her a few times, so the next day, Aoi goes to meet with the counselor and chats about various things related to Shiori to probe some info out of her. For some reason, this makes the counselor bring up the cat hag, a local cat lady that roams around the school and was seen talking to Shiori a few times. Aoi asks why the counselor is bringing that up, but she abruptly cuts their chat there. Suspicious. Our next clue seemed to be with this cat hag. So Aoi does some digging on the old lady. She's a lonely old woman who lost all her family and lives alone. She keeps a lot of cats and got in trouble with the city because of the smell. Aoi finds out where she lives and goes for a visit. The smell is pretty bad, which explains the complaints. The cat hag greets Aoi rather coldly, simply asking, "You a good 'un or a bad 'un?" Confused, Aoi answers she's neither, and the cat hag concludes she's a dumb 'un and lets her in. The house is reeking of cat piss and covered in claw marks, but is weirdly devoid of cats. Maybe the city took action already? Aoi asks if the lady is lonely without her cats. She retorts that cats are demons. She didn't know, but now she does. She explains that her first cat was her son's. She took care of it after her son died. She then started to take care of all the strays around the neighborhood. And they kept her company. A schoolgirl also kept her company and helped her out a bit. But it was all a trick from those demon cats. And even the helpful girl was in on it. The cat hag blames the death of her son on the cat. Cat brings bad luck after all. And so, she made them all go away. Aoi is horrified. The old lady adds that now, whenever she sees a cat in the streets, she strangles it, burns it, and buries it. Aoi screams that it's horrible. The cat hag concludes that she's a bad 'un, just like the other schoolgirl. She claims they want her to suffer. That's why they're against her killing demons. So she chases Aoi away. That here is the reason why I tell people this is a horror game. It really took me by surprise on my first playthrough. The game has heavy topics, but nothing really dark. Until now. Aoi is now sure that the cat hag situation was the secret she couldn't tell Midori. Of course she wouldn't want to involve her in such a horrid affair. But why did the cat-loving old lady turn so murderous so suddenly? Did Shiori know? Well, if she did, the only one she'd tell would be her diary. Remember, Aoi found it in Shiori's room a while ago, but refused to read it at the time. But if it can save the lives of little kitties, then principles be damned. We don't actually get to see in the diary, but Aoi seems to have found out some answers. Not about the cat hag, but about something else. The next day, Aoi decides she should give the diary to someone who needs it. Sumikazu Yasuoka, Shiori's ex-fiancé. Sumikazu is surprised to see her. Aoi assures him she's not here for answers. Actually, she now also knows Shiori's secret. We don't get to see that secret. It's a pretty bold move, but I sort of respect it. The whole game is about truth and how you can never know it all. So I think it's in keeping with the themes to leave some things out. Though I have a pretty good idea on what that secret might be. Aoi gives the diary to Sumikazu and admits she found Shiori's secret to be anticlimactic. For her, it's nothing to be so worried about. But Aoi is not from the same world as Shiori. And to Shiori, something like this must have been unbearable to admit. Shiori's parents would have been against it, and it would have caused strife in the family and harmed Sakura. Now, since they're not going to tell us that secret of hers, let me interject with my own theory. I believe Shiori's secret is that she is gay and in love with Midori. Think about it, a secret she couldn't tell anyone but her fiancé, something her overly traditional parents would be against, but something Aoi wouldn't think much of. It matches perfectly. There's also the fact that Shiori wanted to borrow that dress from Kana for a special event. Maybe a confession? And that would be what she wanted to say to Midori on that roof that night. That's why she was so distraught when Midori said that they'd be friends forever even when they'd get husbands. She was friend-zoned so hard that she gave up on her confession. Now, that is only a theory. Nothing is confirmed. But it does match all the clues, so if you permit me, I will roll with that assumption for the rest of the video. Aoi asks Sumikazu if he heard about how Shiori died by accident. He confirmed that he did. Aoi remembers he was convinced she killed herself originally, even saying it couldn't be helped on the matter. I think she already spoke to him about her plans to confess, and since she died right after, he concluded that she was rejected and could not handle the heartache. Aoi then asks what relationship him and Shiori really had. We go to a flashback where Sumikazu admits to himself he has no intention of marrying Shiori. They're meeting at a cafe on the next day, so it'll be a good time to announce it. But before he can, Shiori is the one to proclaim she can't marry him. She explains why, we don't get to see it, then Shiori asks if they can call off their engagement. To this, Sumikazu declares that now he does want to marry her. Shiori is confused. He explains that they're in a similar boat. Sumikazu never loved anyone romantically and doesn't think he ever will. He admits he was planning on breaking off their engagement at some point, but this changes everything. Since they both don't want to marry, they can pretend to be a couple until they're far enough from their parents to live the life they want. Shiori wonders if they're close enough to pull it off. They haven't known each other for that long. Sumikazu confesses he finds Shiori to be very sincere and courageous. She opened up about herself out of concern for him. He respects that greatly. And if he has to be engaged to someone to please his parents, he'd rather it be to a person he respects. So, he asks her again, will she be his accomplice in deceiving the world? Shiori starts crying. It was the first time she ever told anyone her secret, and she is so relieved it went so well. And so, Shiori accepts his proposal. But Shiori also asks Sumikazu to support her on that event she has planned soon. Sumikazu assures her he's rooting for her. Again, I'm pretty sure it's about her confession to Midori. Sumikazu was quite content with not feeling attraction to others, but he was always worried it meant he'd never developed a deeper bond with someone. Then, Shiori appeared. Two lonely souls, unable to live how they wanted. That's why he proposed they'd fight the world together as a pair. Even if there was no real romantic feelings between them, they could be honest with each other about their true selves. They felt safe because they had each other's back. But when Shiori died, the safety he once had felt false. In the end, he couldn't protect her, and it made him feel so powerless. That is why he decided to become the guardian of her secret. If he couldn't even save her life, at least he could protect her truth. A noble cause that led him to do some pretty dubious things, such as attacking Akari in the dead of night. Aoi argues he never needed to save her. She never asked or needed that. He was there for her, and that's what mattered. Shiori probably wouldn't want him defending her secret as such a sworn duty. She'd just want to be remembered fondly. Sumikazu agrees and promises he'll do that from now on. Sumikazu's statue depicts him as Anteros, the god of requited love and avenger of unrequited love, brother of Eros, god of love. While Eros is a trickster who shoots his arrows of love on a whim, Anteros is the protector of mutual love. Since Sumikazu made himself the keeper of Shiori's secret love, I believe this figure fits him perfectly. You know, I gotta say, when I first played this game and saw the whole pedestal imagery, I thought it was gonna be a story about how Shiori, the popular girl, was secretly evil or something. How you think you know someone, but actually they're the worst. You know, and I feel like a different author would have gone that way, but not Uri. What we find out about Shiori is that she was actually just normal. She's nice, but a bit of a people pleaser. She's talented, but full of insecurities. She's shy, she's awkward, she's worried. She's just desperately human. And that's it. No evil plot, no supernatural. The reveal is that the people you idolize, in the end, they're just humans. Which makes her passing so much sadder. The story starts with her death, but it's only later we really feel sad about it, when we discover what a great girl she was, and see all she could have been. You know how some fandoms have an alternate universe where nothing goes bad and all is happy and silly? I'd love if this game had something like that. An AU where, I don't know, the school has higher railing on the roof and Shiori never falls. She could get Kana to give her a makeover. She'd go on a proper date with Midori, encouraged by Sumikazu and Sakura, who would be so happy to see her sister being true to herself. Midori would be surprised at first, but would accept her love and everyone would be happy. But even if such an AU would be nice, it's not what happened. So let's get back to our story, however bleak it may be. Aoi is a bit stooped. The diary was her last clue and now she's out of leads. Sumikazu remarks that Aoi is good at listening and wonders if there's something the cat hag said that could shed some light into how she became like that. Aoi thinks and has a flash, then she leaves quickly. She goes back to the cat hag and asks who told her about cats being demons. Since she just suddenly changed her mind about them, someone must have told her about the demon cats. The cat hag says that a good girl told her about them. A girl from the same school as Aoi and Shiori. A tall girl with red hair. There's no doubt who that girl was. The evidence are piling up. Akari interrupted the chain of letters between Midori and Shiori. She disrupted the relation Shiori had with her senpai Miyuki and convinced the local cat lady Shiori befriended to kill all her cats. But one question remains. Why? From what Aoi knows, Akari and Shiori never interacted. So why is she going out of her way to make her life miserable? It's time now. Aoi will have to do it. She'll have to investigate on her best friend. At school, Aoi starts her digging on Akari. Aoi actually entered the academy in high school only, but most students, such as Akari, were there since middle school. So Aoi will try to find out how Akari was in middle school, and if she has ties to Shiori from back then. Aoi finds out Akari was not that different in middle school. Sort of a loner, good at school, and was close to one of her teachers. A teacher that hung herself in a classroom. Huh. Well, that's, something. Akari never told her that story, but it would be pretty normal not to speak about such a traumatic event. Although another thought passes through Aoi's mind. What if Akari was responsible for this teacher's death? It was proven that she was capable of manipulating people to great lengths. This teacher was already not liked by the students and staff. Akari seemed to have been the only one she was close to. So, did Akari drove that teacher to suicide? And was that what she tried to do to Shiori? Aoi, is that her limit? Is that really who her best friend is? I mean, it's Akari, her girl, her bestie, the one who always got her back no matter what. She can't be that. Aoi needs a break. She decides to clean up her room for a bit. In doing so, she finds a book that reminds her of how her and Akari became friends. Since Aoi entered the academy in high school, unlike most students, she had trouble making friends. She ended up befriending the two other new students, but they didn't have much in common. The two girls didn't like anything Aoi liked and kept pushing her to like their stuff. They also pressured Aoi to let her hair down because it suited her better. You know, those kind of friends. At the time, Akari was a loner, always alone with her books, which Aoi thought was kinda cool. One day, Aoi asked about Akari's book and Akari lent it to her. The two began chatting and Akari revealed that she was interested in Aoi as well. She found her expressions and clumsy movement amusing. It made her think of a little animal. Aoi is surprisingly not offended by that and is just happy Akari had an interest in her too. Akari reveals she's not a loner because she hates people. She simply hates being restricted by others. She wants to be free to do her things and let people do their thing. So it's not that she's a cool loner or anything. She's just too selfish to fit in a group. Aoi shares her view. She'd like to be freer in her friendship. Her current friends don't even want her to integrate the newspaper club, but Akari encourages her to go for it. She does and gets further away from her two friends, but gains an amazing bestie who will do as she please and let her do the same. Back to the present, Aoi realizes she has a choice to make. Either she prioritizes her friendship with Akari and never speak of this again, or she stays true to herself and confronts Akari for the truth. The first option will give you the leave my idol be ending. But we're here for the truth, the whole truth. So let's confront our best friend about being a possible murderer. The next day, Aoi and Akari meet up in the club room to talk. Aoi returns the book she borrowed so long ago and gives her the result of her investigation. Aoi believes Akari tried to push Shiori to suicide by cutting off all her meaningful relationships. Shiori died by an accident, but she had been in a bad mental state for a while, thanks to Akari's meddling. From the shadow, she slowly isolated Shiori in desire that she would take her own life, just like she did to her teacher in middle school. Akari is shocked by the accusation. She can't believe her friend could see her that way. Akari is hurt. Aoi becomes extremely apologetic. How could she ever think? Yeah, right, I'm kidding. That's amazing, Aoi. Finding out that much by yourself? I'm impressed. That's the hard work of the newspaper association for you. That's right. Aoi's deductions were correct. Well, more or less. She was wrong about the incident in middle school. Akari didn't drive her teacher to do anything. She was a newbie teacher who struggled to be respected by the students and couldn't get along with her colleagues. Since Akari was a good, quiet kid, she started venting to her, complaining about the school, her life, her family, and saying she wanted to die over and over. Little Akari found it super annoying, and after a while just started responding, "Then do it. Die." And one day, that teacher did. Akari didn't aim for it to happen. In her mind, she had nothing to do with it. But the experience gave her an idea. What if she did it on purpose? What if she picked someone, isolated them, secretly made their life a nightmare, and watched it all crash down? What would happen then? Now that would be a fun experiment. Akari is an intelligent and sometimes lazy girl, but there is one thing she hates above all: boredom. So, one day, 6 months ago, when she found herself dying of boredom, that little experiment popped back into her mind. She could have picked anyone, but it would be pretty grand to see the school idol fall from her pedestal and crash. Akari's goal wasn't exactly for Shiori to die. She just wanted to see what would happen. Akari didn't have any resentment towards Shiori. She was only big enough to make a stir and far enough from her so she would never be suspected. Aoi is appalled. She can't believe Akari has no guilt over doing something like this. Akari responds that she wasn't close to Shiori in any way. She's the one who doesn't get why Aoi is so worked up over a stranger. Aoi asks, why did she decide to help her in the investigation, since she was involved so much? Akari answers that she likes Aoi, and she likes watching her work. After all, that's what their friendship is based on, right? Letting each other do as they please. Akari wanted to shake the idol's pedestal to see if she'd fall, and Aoi wanted to gather the pieces and make her whole again. In the end, they both did what they wanted without obstructing each other, like they said they would. No? But Aoi just can't accept that. Hurting people for your own enjoyment? That's just wrong to her. At the start of the game, Aoi was the one being insensitive about Shiori's passing, and Akari was the one being sensible. But that's just because Akari is a good manipulator. She knows what to say to get what she wants. Nothing about it was out of genuine concern. Aoi was, and always been, purely honest. Too honest, probably. Maybe that's the biggest divide between them. Aoi just can't forgive her friend and doesn't really know what to do now. Akari understands. She respects her friend's decision and ends their friendship there. Anyway, it was her last day in this school. Her family is moving overseas and they'll probably never see each other again. Akari's known she'd be leaving since 6 months ago. Her little experiment with Shiori was supposed to be a last hurrah before starting fresh in a new country. She's also canceling her phone plan and is deleting her social media, so she'll truly disappear from Aoi's life, just like that. Before she goes, she asks Aoi what she thought when she found the letters in her desk. It seems Akari wanted Aoi to find out the truth about her before she left. Akari turns to Aoi and says, "Goodbye, Aoi. I'll treasure that look on your face for the rest of my life." And with that, Akari exits, leaving Aoi all alone. 3 days later, Aoi hands in her resignation for the newspaper club to the supervisor. The guy is confused, and Aoi tells him everything. She breaks down crying. She started this investigation because she thought it wouldn't affect her. She was just a bystander. She didn't think it would actually hurt her to know. But because of her discoveries, she found out horrible things about her best friend and had the worst goodbye ever. She wishes she'd never started this investigation at all. The teacher responds that Akari is dead now. Not for real, but her friend Akari is. She'll never come back and nothing can be done about it. So he suggests that Aoi pretends that Akari is dead now, to make it easier on herself. He also points out that Akari chose to end things in such a dramatic manner. He suggests that Akari made Aoi hate her on purpose, to make her departure easier on her. You regret less someone you hate, after all. But he can't know for sure, and neither can we. At that moment, Sakura enters. She wants to join the newspaper club. Aoi's work on her sister's case inspired her to find out the truth and show it to the world for those who need it. So now, Aoi, who was about to quit, has her first ever new member. Aoi is happy but conflicted. She now knows who was actually responsible for her sister's death, but she can never say it to Sakura. Can they still get along even so? There once were two idols on a pedestal in front of Aoi. One was Shiori, beautiful and admired by all, but she was tied to her pedestal, and eventually she fell from it and shattered, revealing a broken, normal human girl. People will cry the loss of a beautiful statue, but the ones who knew her will mourn the real person she was. The other idol was Akari. Aoi didn't even realize she had put her on a pedestal, but Akari kicked her pedestal and fell off of her own choosing, deciding to destroy the image her friend had of her. But why? Maybe she wanted to be seen by her just once for who she truly was. Or she wanted to shock her, see her expression of horror for her own amusement. Or it was just her way of saying goodbye. We will never know for sure. Now, all Aoi has is an empty pedestal. Aoi searched for the truth so hard, but now that she has it, what is she supposed to do with it? She doesn't know, but one thing is sure. In the autumn of 2013, someone irreplaceable to me died. Akari's statue is of Eris, goddess of discord, a trickster goddess who loves to cause chaos for her own amusement. She's responsible for the Trojan War, as she's the one who dropped the apple that started the conflict. The parallels with Akari's true natures are apparent, but her statue is no longer in the menu at the end of the game. Only a pedestal remains. Aoi's statue is of Harmonia, the goddess of harmony. In addition of being the total opposite of Akari's goddess, you can see Aoi's statue is now tormented by snakes. That's because in one myth, Harmonia's entire family was turned into snakes. Harmonia pleaded to not be parted from them and was turned into a snake as well. This might be a stretch, but Aoi did sort of get turned into a snake, as in she got turned into a liar, since now she'll have to hide the truth from Sakura. Maybe. I'm not too sure about that one. This game is hard to categorize. It's not truly a horror game, but it's not a simple detective story. It's very wordy, but every word counts. It has an ending, but it's a half one, and the true ending is a bonus content that's totally optional. I mean, who does that? Even compared to the other games by Uri, it's a weird one. Way less violent, completely devoid of supernatural, and leaves a lot up for interpretation. Usually in Uri's writing, almost everything is explained. I do love the explanation given, and as an audience, it's always satisfying to get more, but it does make the story less organic. With Pedestal, leaving so much unsaid really elevates it to a true organic mystery, in my opinion. Like the game says over and over, you can never know the whole truth. I like that it doubles down on that concept. I guess it's not a very satisfying mystery game to play. We never even find out Shiori's secret. The lesbian thing is still just my interpretation. It's pretty ballsy to not give something so big to the audience, but I see it as Uri growing as an author. Prioritizing your themes over the audience satisfaction is a tricky gamble, which is probably why Uri was so reluctant to release the game in English. But I'm so glad she did. I should feel unsatisfied, but I don't. We got a wonderful story and met some amazing characters. It will never be a wild success like the Strange Man series, and it wasn't meant to be. It's a hidden little gem that's buried deep, and only those willing to dig will ever get to see it shine. We all put people up on pedestals, even if we don't realize. We all project an image on them, one that could be far from the truth. Maybe we should try to find out how this person truly is, but we might be disappointed. It's a weird message. One could think this game is telling you to never seek out the truth, but I don't think it does. Many people benefited from the truth, like Sakura or Miyuki. I think the message is, seek out the truth, but be ready for it. Even if it seemed like I spoiled the whole game, please give it a go. There is so much I had to skip. Like Bottles. I barely mentioned him, and that's a crime. So please, play it. Or at least watch Silly Goose Gamer's Let's Play of it. It's super fun. She does all the voices and covers all the endings I skipped. Once again, there's a link to her channel in the description. Thank you for watching this atrociously long video. Sorry about that. I really had too much to say about this game. Thanks again to Silly Goose Gamer for the footage, and well, that's it for me. Stay tuned for some other way too long video about a game no one plays anymore. See ya.